Some of the biggest changes in crypto happened in 2025. Among the most important changes was the OCC, which happened twice, right? It happened on March 7th and May 7th. It began with big groups like the OCC making it clear that banks could do certain things with cryptocurrencies. Then this one came along and said that banks could also hold and trade cryptocurrencies. This gave banks a big green light to get involved in crypto. So we pretty much thought, okay, this is definitely a big deal. Then we saw the FDIC do the same thing. That's why the FDIC and the OCC told the big banks they could use crypto. Then the Federal Reserve did the same thing here. And we pretty much thought, okay, this changed everything. Big banks are not going to go after crypto businesses, going to stop crypto companies in their tracks. They're not going to go after crypto companies because there was a big hit on crypto before. And I do think that the big banks were behind it because they were afraid of the technology. In a way, they still are. The word Operation Choke Point 2.0 makes us think of this again. Even though this was a big attack on the whole industry, I think one company in this space was already a big target before Operation Choke Point 2.0 hit heavily. That's Ripple, of course. For a long time now, Ripple, XRP, and the XRPL have been the target of attacks. It began back in the year 2020. This kept going on. It kept going, yes. Ripple and XRP are still being hit after more than 4 years, and even more recently, this year, when all big banks were given the go-ahead, right? Things are changing, right? There are talks about regulations, big moves, and big bills being passed. If banks are given the all-clear, they should be able to join. Ripple just put in for a banking license. Things are changing. Everything is fine. That's not true. We're going to talk about it. Though first, let's start with this short clip over here. Cody Carbone, CEO of Digital Chamber, shared this. In it, he says that crypto companies are still being debanked and this needs to stop. I appreciate that Chairman Senator Tim Scott spoke out and led the way to end this abuse for good. We get things done with the HARD Act. Here it is. Fox Business Chairman Senator Tim Scott has fought back against dishonest regulators who take advantage of risks to their image to push people out of banks. Today, he talked with Larry Kudlow about his FIRM Act, which got backing from both Democrats and Republicans in the House. Look at this, philosophy, or these are fun. They got in trouble with the left, with these elitists who think they should decide who can use our banking institutions. Part of the reason I voted against banks in the Senate Banking Committee earlier this year is because of this. I wanted to take the lead on this very important subject because I know it's time. Please tell me what's inside. Just a quick note because Mr. Trump is going to issue an executive order. Yes. A rule, on the other hand, is stronger than an executive order. A law stays in effect even when the government changes. Right on. Some of the biggest changes in crypto happened in 2025. Among the most important changes was the OCC, which happened twice, right? It happened on March 7th and May 7th. It began with big groups like the OCC making it clear that banks could do certain things with cryptocurrencies. Then this one came along and said that banks could also hold and trade cryptocurrencies. This gave banks a big green light to get involved in crypto. So we pretty much thought, okay, this is definitely a big deal. Then we saw the FDIC do the same thing. That's why the FDIC and the OCC told the big banks they could use crypto. Then the Federal Reserve did the same thing here. And we pretty much thought, okay, this changed everything. Big banks are not going to go after crypto businesses, going to stop crypto companies in their tracks. TPE. I remember seeing him in a movie from, I think it was 2022 or 2023, where he basically said that crypto bros make money out of thin air. You could say that the government does too, but that would be the US government. There are also these crazy, pointless fights that have nothing to do with the subject. All of this is done to help the big banks. And these are the biggest donors. These big banks and groups are in charge of everything with one thing. These big banks know how to use their money well. Money gives them power and control. The big news is that we now understand all of this. Yes, 42 banks are stopping Ripple from getting a banking license. The BPI, which is made up of 42 big US banks, has objected to Ripple's application for a banking license. Some of the banks that are members are JP Morgan, Citi, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Goldman Sachs. It's not just the BPI either. When we look at what's really going on, I think it's very important for everyone to know that technology has the power to change everything, even the way money moves around the world. People who send and receive money through these big banks are their main source of income. The way we know fractional reserve banking works is just one big scan. It's not working. It has always been broken. It seems like almost everyone else does too at this point. However, the most crazy thing about it all is when you think about these big banks and their CEOs like Jamie Dimon, these people are very, very rich. Even though they are very wealthy and powerful, we look at what's going on with the people who use these big banks. There are lots of movies online showing how these banks take advantage of people. Not only that, but let's remember the 2008 crisis, right? The most important crash we know of. The big banks got bigger, they got richer while retail stores went out of business. Yes, we don't like these big banks. In fact, we are at odds with them. When we give and receive money, they want us to pay crazy high fees. What does it mean when a company like Ripple changes the way banks work and how money works? As I said at the start of the film, it makes them a target. Besides that, the fact that you know the big banks are this scared, this worried, this frightened should make you think, I need to put my money into the right thing. Because if banks are this scared, just think about how damaging this tech really is. Nix Blackwood wrote a great post about this that was kind of similar in how it was put together. As you can see, they want Ripple to be banned. Why does that mean you're past the goal? The ICBA, which speaks for more than 5,000 banks in the US, is now telling the OCC to turn down Ripple's trust bank. Key, we could zoom in on this app if we looked at it. They are against Ripple Labs' request for a national trust bank charter for Ripple National Trust Bank, which is a planned subsidiary of Ripple Labs. Enterprise users can use Ripple Labs' blockchain-based payments and custody services to add digital assets and blockchain technology to their businesses. Ripple Labs wants to use RNTB to do things that go along with Ripple stablecoin and other payment businesses. For example, they want to use it to handle stablecoin reserves and provide other fiduciary services. They say that using safe coins will help them build the next generation of global financial services and change the way that money moves in the digital economy. Do not fall under the powers that Congress intended when it made the National Trust Bank Charter. Since RNTB is a national trust bank, it is against the law for it to accept contributions. But by keeping track of Ripple Labs' stablecoin funds, a stablecoin called RLUSD is made by Ripple Labs, and that's where the story ends. But what's really crazy is that all they're saying is that they don't want Ripple to get this charter license, okay? Because Congress doesn't have the power to do what they're doing with stablecoins and how they're shaking up the economy because they're digital and changing how money moves. You made a good reason, buddy. In essence, they're saying that what Ripple is doing is too big for this situation and could hurt the banking industry's business because it's changing everything. They are aware of how upsetting this is. They are aware of how useful this is. Plus, they know what kind of demand this will make at a time when this admin is putting all of their money into safe coin projects and US-based crypto companies. Guys, we're so far past the goal that it makes me really excited about XRP and what Ripple is doing. I'm shocked by it. It's crazy to me that this is still going on a year, 2 years, 3 years, or even 4 years or more after the case. For years, we thought that the case was an attempt by the big banks to gain power and slow down or even kill Ripple. Now, there is proof here from both the ICBA and the BPI that these big banks are scared of what Ripple is doing here, and I really think that there's something to learn from this. If you work for a bank like JP Morgan, Citi, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, etc., you should pay attention to a blockchain company like Ripple. Why does it matter to them? What are all of these Bitcoin tops telling us about crypto? Oh, I see. Ripple and XRP will never work out. They're not going to do this. That will never happen. As for why these groups of the top banks, more than 5,000 in the US, are trying to stop and slow down Ripple, if it wasn't such a big threat, what do they want to do to stop Ripple from being successful? This is why you should pay attention to what Ripple is doing behind the scenes. I'm so much more optimistic now. Based on what these banks are telling us, I think everyone should have a lot more faith in what Ripple and XRP are doing and becoming. With that out of the way, I hope you guys liked this movie. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on alerts if you want more free content. You can also follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord channel linked below. So, guys, this is Nick. Thanks for seeing. Goodbye.